What's up, everybody? I got this piece of paper here. We're going to talk through last week's games. We're going to talk through the current week's slate. We're going to talk locks of the week, and we're going to talk Aaron and Ben's big parlays for the week. This is the Aaron and Ben podcast, Aaron and Ben Talk Sports podcast. Follow us on our socials. Subscribe the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on X for all of our great parlays and picks of the week, and all of our anything we take later in the week or as Saturday comes around will be posted there as well. If you want to follow along, if you want to trail any of our bets, if you want to fade us on our locks of the week, that might be a good play. But appreciate you for listening anyways, and I appreciate all of your support. We could not do this podcast without you, even though this is early stages, so we're only doing it with a few of you. All right, let's get into last week's breakdown. Texas A&M dominated LSU. What I learned from the game, I haven't watched a whole ton of Texas A&M, I got to be honest. I didn't have them in my playoff. They're in my updated playoff bracket now. Hopefully next week, me and Aaron. Aaron is a little bit busy, had a huge, hectic week. I also had a hectic week filming this on Friday just to try to get something out to you guys. But I now have watched Texas A&M, and I now respect Texas A&M. They are in my playoff. Texas A&M's offense is explosive. They are electric. Marcel Reed is Lamar Jackson-esque. He's not obviously Lamar Jackson, but man, he makes some explosive plays. Their receivers are difference makers. My gosh. Concepcion, absolute freak. I didn't realize, I didn't watch a whole ton of NC State. I don't think many people did. This dude is a freak. And obviously, Aaron watched Texas A&M when he watched the Texas A&M versus Mississippi State game, and we all kind of going into that game, we're like, oh, Mississippi State's been a really good team. They're definitely up and coming. They can give Texas A&M some problems. They can give Texas A&M some problems, but they could not stop Texas A&M, and that's the issue that any team that plays them is going to have. How do you stop this? Not thankfully, but for any defense, they're thankful that Le'Veon Moss is injured again, so they don't have that to fight. Their running backs are still super good, but there's just one less now. So it's a little bit better, but it's not better because Concepcion and Craver are absolute studs. They're very fast. They're very talented. And that's what we saw. Texas A&M just did whatever they wanted offensively. And the LSU offense has been bad all year, and they continue to be bad. Nussmeier got pulled in, I think, the fourth quarter. He looked pissed. They struggled. The stadium cleared out in the third quarter. Brian Kelly's trying to yell at his coordinators and other assistant coaches, and it's a bad look. The commentators talk about it. Next thing you know, this weekend, Brian Kelly's gone. I think it happened Sunday. Now, I'm recording on Friday. The athletic director has also been fired by the governor of the state, which is just a weird situation. Not even the president of the state. I think they're even president of the university. I think they're still looking for a president. So whatever coach goes there, LSU's not going to be able to hire their coach tomorrow. It's going to be they have a lot of other stuff to figure out before they can even hire a coach. And no coach is going to the main thing for a coach is NIL, but who the heck are the NIL donors donating to? There's just a ton of stuff going on. Anyways, LSU defensively got torched. They do have a really good defense still, especially in their secondary. They couldn't do anything. Texas A&M is a really good team. I don't know who their loss would be to. I feel like they're going to go undefeated until the SEC championship, maybe undefeated for the year. They're better than, at least at minimum, they're more consistent than Alabama. Maybe Alabama at their peak is a little bit better, but that's a stretch. Texas A&M, if they're full go, they are the best team in the SEC. Texas, on the other hand, the other SEC Texas school, is not operating near peak level. They are not playing very well at all, and they barely came back to beat Mississippi State. Had to go to overtime. Mississippi State loses a heartbreaker. Aaron, I know, would love to have been on the podcast to share his thoughts, as he is a Mississippi State fan. And Brandon Walker, Barstool and Mississippi State fan, Barstool podcaster, and was on the sidelines. The game-winning touchdown that the Texas backup threw, absolute dime, was caught right in front of Brandon Walker's face. Mississippi State goes I think they go 4-out to lose the game. In overtime, they had the last possession. Really tough game for Mississippi State. Texas, they showed some. They care. It's not like they're a bad team. It's just they are super inconsistent and struggle a lot on offense. So we'll see. Vanderbilt beat Missouri. Missouri, I think they're going to have to chalk the season up. But Prabeel out. Sam Mahorn, I think, was their starter going into the year. He's already out for the season. Prabula, I believe, is out for the season. Pavia does it again. Vanderbilt's for real. We talked about it on the podcast already. We also talked about Missouri needs to get Ahmad Hardy going. They didn't really get him going. He hasn't really gotten going in SEC play the past 3 games. So take that for what it's worth. Ahmad Hardy was dominating all these lesser teams, and then they get into the meat of their schedule, and he's going for 60, 70 yards a game. So it's not transferring over. And when they were at their best, he's running for over 150 yards a game. So that's just is what it is. Vanderbilt doesn't need 150 per yard running back. They need a couple guys to get 60 yards receiving, and then they need to run the ball decently. They only needed to score 17 points. Their defense stood up to the challenge that Missouri was presenting, and they get the dub. Ole Miss offense dominated an elite Oklahoma defense. I think Ole Miss won, 38-31 or something. They won by, or 38-30. They won by 8 points, I believe. And Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, he's got to be right. He's right in the race to go to New York. I don't know. It's going to be hard with the remaining schedule that Ole Miss has to see him have really any Heisman moments per se, unless they somehow make it to the SEC championship game with some help. That would be where he would have a Heisman moment, as if Ole Miss somehow made it to the SEC championship game, somehow won that game. I think that would be really the only way that Chambliss is in New York, unfortunately. But he's having a Heisman caliber season. If he would have just played the first 2 games as starter, his stats would back that up. His averages are through the roof. His yards per play, I think, lead the country. He's been phenomenal for the Ole Miss offense, and the Ole Miss defense bounced back in a big way. Oklahoma's offense is not amazing. John Mateer has made some questionable decisions, especially in that game. 4th and 5, you're down 5 points. It's 4th and 5. You have a 6-yard out wide open to your best receiver. You throw a corner route and it sails over him. Ole Miss gets the ball, kicks a field goal to go up 8, and the game's kind of over from there. Ole Miss looked really good. They bounced back. A lot of people didn't think that Ole Miss could bounce back. They thought that with all the rumors from Kiffin to any open job spot that the Ole Miss players weren't going to be focused. But what was reported, I think, really helped. 3 years ago, 2 years ago, Kiffin to Auburn was very likely, and he didn't address it with the players, and they lost out. They essentially lost out. They ended up finishing 7-5, 8-4, lost the bowl game or something to go 8-5, I think. So it's not a good year. This year he decides, let's address it with the team. So he addresses it with the team, says that the reason that he's getting all these job opportunities is because the staff and the players are doing so good at their jobs, and everyone's playing really well, and he would not be a desired coach if that was not the case. And that's true. You need to have that upfront discussion, hey, I'm still here. I want to win. The only reason that I'm getting mentioned for all these jobs is because we're a successful program. We're a successful team. Florida thinks that they're a better school than Ole Miss academically and athletically. Same with LSU. And so they're going to be interested and try to get Lane Kiffin away from Ole Miss. There's a ton of arguments about that Ole Miss in this day and age is not really a huge step down from Florida and LSU 10 years ago, 20 years ago, before pre-NIL. Yeah, of course, Florida and LSU are better jobs. But now it's a real question, and it's what does Lane Kiffin want to do? His whole family's in Oxford. His ex-wife's in Oxford. His kid's in Oxford. One of his daughters is going to school at Ole Miss. his brother and his entire family. He tried to hire his brother 2 years ago as a defensive analyst, and then his brother's like, "Nah, I'm gonna go back to Baltimore." It was with the Ravens another year, and then finally got the contract and got everything to work out. So the whole Kiffin family is in Oxford. His parents spent their last few days in Oxford. They passed away, unfortunately, this past year, but we'll see what he does. But regardless, huge win for Ole Miss. Huge slate this week. Not really like any... I mean, there's a ton of marquee games, I should say, but there's not any like 1 versus 3, 2 versus 7. There's a lot of games that are you kind of have to find. I have 7 games listed that we'll talk through. 3 ranked matchups that we'll talk through. The first one, Vanderbilt, Texas. Vandy is the 9th ranked team this week. Texas is the 20th ranked team. Texas is favored by 3 at home, so on a neutral field, this is a pick 'em. The over-under is 46.5. 46.5, I think, is too many points. I'm automatically going the under. With a backup quarterback and just Vanderbilt, I think they're going to want to hold the ball, so I don't see it being a high-scoring game. I will say this game is a little bit hard to pick because you see this every year where when the starting quarterback goes down and the backup comes in, the rest of the team picks up their play and they look like a better team because everyone's trying harder. You saw this last year. Georgia played. Carson Beck went down. We've talked about this ad nauseum all the time, that Carson Beck's receivers at Georgia last year dropped the ball way too much. The reason that Carson Beck looks good this year compared to last year is not because he's a much better player and getting coached a whole lot better. It's because his receivers are actually catching the ball. When Gunnar Stockton came in, I think in the SEC championship game and then in the playoff game, the receivers caught the ball. They stepped up. Their focus level was a lot higher. So does Texas step up? Does the rest of their team, does their offensive line look a lot better? Does their running game pick it up? Do they make more explosive plays? Is their backup, with all the playing experience he has, can he bring a different element to Texas offense? Can he see the field better? Can he see what defenses are doing a little bit easier because he has all this experience? Obviously, it's Arch Manning's first year, so he doesn't have that, like, oh, the defense is doing this here, like, oh, this linebacker's revealing what he's doing, so I know I need to throw it here. It'll be interesting to see the Texas defense match up with the Vanderbilt offense. Diego Pavia is statistically not the Heisman, but I mean, he's bringing Vanderbilt to the playoffs. Realistically, like, they are a playoff contender, could be in the playoffs. It's very easy to see that they are a very talented team. I think everyone just kind of says, like, oh, Texas is so much more talented, and they don't really, in that breath, it's a little bit disrespectful to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a very talented team. They might be underdogs. They might be a team full of guys that are, like, wanting to prove themselves, whereas some of these Texas players are like, oh, I proved myself in high school. I don't need to prove myself in college. I was a 5-star. I was a high 4-star. I was like the 200th best player in high school. I don't need to, or I was like the 50th best player in high school. I don't need to prove that I'm like a really good player. I already proved it to rivals and to On3 and to 247 scouts. Like, they know that I'm good. Well, that doesn't always translate to the field. You still have to play with a chip on your shoulder. You still have to play with an edge. This is still a physical sport. Just because you have a 4 or 5-star by your name doesn't mean that you're automatically better than a Vanderbilt player. And what you're seeing is Vanderbilt players are very good right now. Just a little pause there. Vanderbilt players are really good. Texas players are really good too. But I don't want people keep saying, like, when you're listening to podcasts, Texas's roster is so good. They just just gloss over Vanderbilt's roster and what Clark Lea's built there. You can't do that. Vanderbilt's ranked 9th in the country for a reason. I'm taking Vanderbilt +3. I love Vanderbilt in this spot. I love Vanderbilt against a Texas team without Arch Manning. I love everything Clark Lea's done with this team and everything that offense does to opposing defenses. I think the under obviously hits, and I think Vanderbilt covers the 3 points. So even if it's a 3-point, that could be a push potentially. So I'm thinking if Vandy loses, it'll be by a very small margin, but I really think Vandy wins. So I'll pick Vandy to cover, but I could see, and I would love that Vandy wins the game. Going to the next game, Oklahoma ranked 18 now. They were, I think, 13 last week, dropped 5 spots after losing to Ole Miss. Tennessee is ranked 14. It is at Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by 2.5. Same thing with the Vanderbilt-Texas game. This Oklahoma-Tennessee game is a pick'em on a neutral field, essentially. I think Oklahoma would be a 0.5 point favorite on a neutral field. The over-under is 55.5. I don't have a feel on that. I think it could easily be a high-scoring game. It could easily be a low-scoring game. I don't really know. I think that spread is just about right, so I would not bet on that. Here's my thoughts on this game. I think Oklahoma bounces back in a big way. I think that the Oklahoma defense specifically bounces back. Tennessee offers a lot on offense. They have Brazel on the outside who can win downfield, can win on a lot of routes, and he's a very, very good outside receiver. But what I'll say is Oklahoma secondary, they got torched by Ole Miss, but what Ole Miss showed in that game was that their slot receivers and their tight ends really made the difference. It was not won by the game was not won by the outside receivers. It was won by the run game, and it was won by the inside slot receivers and tight ends. So I don't know if Tennessee has that juice on the inside with their tight ends, with their slot receivers. Even with the run game this year, particularly, to give Oklahoma the challenges that Ole Miss was able to. And I think Ole Miss also was able to use Chambliss in the run game a lot more than Tennessee will be able to use their quarterback. So I really think Oklahoma is going to win this game with their defense. I think John Mateer is going to learn from last week, and he's going to take the short routes when they're there. He's going to make better decisions than in the games where they've ended up losing the game. Obviously, Oklahoma needs this game. Brent Venables needs this game a ton. It's kind of you win and you're still in the playoff hunt sort of game. Oklahoma still has a tough schedule right after this, but if they want their season to continue and they want the buy-in from their whole roster to continue, they need to win this game. I think Oklahoma wins. I have Oklahoma money line. I don't have a real play on the over-under. I think Oklahoma bounces back. I think they lean on the run game, and against Ole Miss, their run game really was good, and they just didn't utilize it enough, and I think they'll learn from that. I think that Oklahoma could blow Tennessee out, but I'm going to just go money line. We'll not get crazy here. I don't see a world in which Tennessee blows Oklahoma out. I do not see that. I'll say that. Okay. Cincinnati, number 17, at number 24, Utah. So 17 versus 24. Utah is favored by 10.5 right now. The over-under is 54.5. I think you can tell by my tone and my voice that 10.5 is way too much. I'm going Cincinnati plus 10.5. I debated going money line on Cincinnati because I think Cincinnati is just on a roll. Their offense is unstoppable at the moment. Utah has struggled in big games. They really have. Dampier has not looked great in the big moments after transferring over from New Mexico. So I'm going to go Cincinnati plus 10.5. I wouldn't be too mad to go money line. Utah's offense has struggled in big games. I don't know how they would cover 10.5 against a really good Cincinnati team who's hit their stride within the last few weeks, and their quarterback's playing on another level. So I also think that the over is the play, 54.5. I would say Cincinnati is going to have, 38 points, Utah 14 or something. So that would do 50. That'd be 52. So I don't know. Utah might be able to have a little bit more success against Cincinnati's defense. So anyways, I think the over is the play. All right, we'll go number 10, Miami at SMU. I have Miami big. I think SMU's defense is not going to be able to offer any resistance against Miami's offense, and Miami's just going to have a lot of fun in Dallas. All right, the fifth game we'll cover, UGA at Florida. Florida is a 7-point dog right now. I think Georgia's defense is gettable. Obviously, Ole Miss had their way. Alabama had their way. Lots of teams have had their way on Georgia's defense this year. The one thing I'll say, the successful teams against Georgia have been able to pass the ball against Georgia. And so we'll see. That'll be an interesting matchup. Florida's receivers, Dallas Wilson, who we showed some highlights of him a couple weeks ago, taking on Georgia's secondary, DJ Lagway. I think that Florida, with their interim coaches, going to want to establish the run with ball. I think that's a great game plan. I just don't know how much you'll be able to do it against this Georgia front seven. That's the one area that they're tough is in the run game. So we'll see. That'll be a great matchup. I think Florida covers the 7. I think it'll be a close game. Obviously, Florida has the interim coach bump, and then Georgia should win just because they're the more talented team, but I think Florida covers. I think Stockton has a good game. Lagway looks good with his interim coach, and Lagway is gonna look really good in an Ole Miss uniform next year. Got Ole Miss versus South Carolina. We'll look at this game. This is the 6th game we're covering. Number 7, Ole Miss, minus 12.5 against South Carolina. I think it's going to be a very similar game to last year. Ole Miss won, I think, 27-3. I don't think South Carolina is on the same level as Ole Miss. So I have Ole Miss big here. I don't know. I'm not going to go too much into detail on that game. Georgia Tech, NC State. My prediction is this is going to be the best game of the night. Georgia Tech versus NC State. NC State's been a overlooked team, but they're pretty good. And then Georgia Tech, like every game that Georgia Tech plays is close. So I think this will be a really fun. I would encourage anyone to watch this game if they don't have a team playing during the night window. I think Georgia Tech squeaks out the win, but it'll be really fun and a close game. All right, let's get to locks of the week. All right. So Aaron's locks of the week. San Diego State minus 10.5. Minnesota minus 3.5. Okay. That's good picks. San Diego State's playing Wyoming. I'm not sure who Minnesota's playing Michigan State. Yeah, Michigan State's had a tough year. So, all right, that's Aaron's locks. Producer Corey, has locks. Indiana minus 21.5. Vanderbilt. He thinks Vanderbilt's going to win by 2.5. So he's altered the Vanderbilt line to be Vandy covered favored minus 2.5. Pretty bold pick right there, Corey. But I don't hate it. I think that's what we're all rooting for, if we're being honest. All right, my picks, my locks of the week. Cincinnati covers plus 10.5. We already talked about that. I think Utah struggled in big games, and Cincinnati's on a roll. I don't think that roll ends this week. And even if they lose, it'll be way closer than an 11-point game. Kansas State plus 7.5. Kansas State was written off early in the year because they struggled mightily. They really struggled. But they've figured it all out for the most part, and they are too big of underdogs. So I got Kansas State plus 7.5. Let me see if I can get those odds real quick. While I'm doing that, Aaron's parlay of the week is Minnesota moneyline over Michigan State, San Diego State minus 10.5 versus Wyoming, Duke plus 6.5. That's alt spread at Clemson. So I think Duke is probably. 'Cause supposed to get beat by less points, and he's making the spread a little bit bigger, saying they're not going to lose. And then Vanderbilt plus 6.5, Texas. So obviously he's given a little bit more cushion to Vandy that they will lose by less than a touchdown, and Duke will lose less than a touchdown. So that pays out plus 640. Clear all these. Let's do our lock of the week while we're here. San Diego State. San Diego State, Wyoming. He's got San Diego State covering. Minnesota -3. Minnesota. Minnesota -3.5. Corey's got Indiana -21 as we speak. Vandy plus 6.5. No, for the lock of the week. Sorry, Corey did 2.5. The other way, so plus 162. And then I got, sorry, this is taking a minute. Cincinnati is in the Big 12. Cincinnati plus 10.5, and Kansas State is also in the Big 12 plus 7.5. What did I do? I think I have the wrong. I think I did one. Oh yeah, I gotta take the. So Vanderbilt -2.5. Sorry. So that is plus 62.96. So $20 wins $1,280. There's your lock of the week. Parlay. And then my parlay is massive. I have Oklahoma +3, Notre Dame -28.5, Wake Forest money line, Indiana, Maryland. I have the over 50.5. I think Indiana could score 50 by themselves. UConn -11.5. Cal +6. That line has moved a lot, so it definitely take Cal on that one. Navy money line. Ole Miss -12.5. Georgia, Florida over 50.5. Cincinnati +10.5. Hawaii money line over San Jose State. I was on San Jose State earlier because they beat New Mexico. But what I found out is San Jose State's actually not that good. They just had a really good game against New Mexico. That's how I know. So I'm betting against San Jose State. Okay. All right. Miami -10.5. I think they could blow the doors open on that game. New Mexico State +8.5. And New Mexico +4.5. I love the New Mexico schools every week. My bet is plus 2.8 million odds. So $1 wins 28,000. $10 wins 280,000. That's all I got. I really appreciate everyone listening. Comment if you disagree with our picks. Let us know how stupid I am. And have a great Saturday watching all these games. We love you. Peace.